A lot of people want me to talk about how this war between Iran, Israel, and the United States affect on China.
Is America attacking Iran to target China?
Hi guys, let me share the war stats we have in China so far. Here's what Iran is claiming. Since they start their counterattacks, they say they have bombed all 27 U.S. military bases in the region. They are reporting a total of 650 U.S. casualties. Specifically, they claim the strike on the base in Bahrain resulted in 160 casualties. They also say the U.S. combat support ship was badly damaged by the missiles. The USS Abraham Lincoln carrier scrambled to escape toward the Indian Ocean. And they also taken out 6 high-ranking CIA officials. As for Israel, it looks like they took a harder hit. Iran fired over 150 missiles at them. Reports shows that 62 missiles broke through Israel's air defense systems with a hit rate of over 80%. Do you realize what that means? You have to understand Israel has the densest air defense networks on the planet. They are the only country with a 4-layers defense system covering long, medium, short, and terminal ranges. They deployed about 6 launch units per square kilometers. That's 29 times the density of Washington, D.C. And even if with all that, they still got hammered. Airports, industrial parks, nuclear research centers, weapons factories, the stock exchange, the IDF headquarters, all hit. Even their own desalination plant was blown up. The society has basically ground to a halt. So, hearing all this, I don't know how you guys feel. Sad, upset, happy, excited. Your reaction depends on your stance. But honestly, those emotions don't really matter. I saw reports about an Iranian pilot whose planes got hit, and instead of ejecting, he chose to crash his plane into US soldiers. As bystanders, we are just watching and listening to stories, but the soldiers in these stories, regardless of their nationality, are someone's husband, father, or son. I know, it's a cliche. Everyone who calls for world peace has said the same thing, but the world just keep repeating this cycle. So, tell me, what are we supposed to do? Anyway, I will keep updating you with the info I get and analysis from Chinese for your reference. Stay safe.
A lot of people want me to talk about how this war between Iran, Israel, and the United States affect on China. Let's start with this. Right now, this war is not really an Iraq invasion style yet. Okay, this is basically a Yugoslavia style with airstrikes, with enough airstrikes, force the new leadership of Iran come to the table to negotiate. That's the whole strategy right now. And the entire thing is about Israel. That's the fact. AIPAC controls most of the American politicians. Any of the politicians, if they step out of the line, AIPAC will fund your primary challengers and you will be toasted. With this parasitic relationship between United States and Israel, the politicians have to make the chosen one happy. And that brings us to China. The main purpose of this war is not about China. China do import a lot of crude oils, that's for sure, but it already diversified. They got a lot of from Russia, Saudi. Iran sure has a meaningful amount, but not decisive. Even with Venezuela, China's still getting oil from Venezuela, just paying to United States. They're getting the money. And the United States, in the beginning, they say they're going to help the Venezuela people, but, money goes to the United States now, so, which is BS. You don't really see the news from Beijing that anyone is panic. All you see just very controlled statement from the government, like condemn the strike, call for de-escalation, emphasize the sovereignty. Then the Chinese were just sitting there and watch how long the US get pulled back into Middle East again. And this could be a potential strategic window for China. Anyway, I have a full article about this with more details on Substack. Join my newsletter there and link in bio, and you can also support me there. Thank you very much. Take care.
I've been asked this many times in the past few days. Here is the theory. Iran is a major oil producer. China is a major LNG importer. If the US controls Iranian oil, China's LNG security collapses. Sounds logical, but let's look at the numbers. China's top crude oil supplies: Russia 80%, Saudi Arabia 40%, Malaysia 11%, Iraq 11%, Brazil 8%. Iran isn't even in the top 10. Second, can the US actually control Iranian oil? The US fought in Iraq for years. Today, Iraq still supplies 11% of China's oil imports. Oil flows where markets demand, not where political speeches point. Third, regime change rarely produces loyalty. If conflict deepens, Iran is more likely to harden against the US, not pivot toward it. History shows that military intervention often creates long-term instability, not strategic alignment. Here is a deeper question. Is this really about China, or is it about America's own internal and regional strategy? And one more uncomfortable thought. A rising superpower projects confidence. A declining one projects force. So what are we really witnessing? American strength or insecurity? What do you think? I'm Yuan, unpacking China and the shifting world around it. Check my back page for more. Thank you.
China just lost its biggest leverage in the Middle East and almost nobody's talking about it. For 46 years, China secretly built their empire around Iran. While the West imposed sanctions, China moved in. They even signed a $400 billion deal, bought more than 80% of Iran's oil at $8 to $10 of discount per barrel. They built a shadow tanker fleet. They even relabeled Iranian crude as Malaysian, cheap energy, exclusive access, and total leverage. It was genius because Iran had no other choice. But now everything is changing. If conflict escalates and the Straits of Hormuz gets disengaged, China's economy gets hit first. Nearly half of their oil flows through that choke point. One disruption and factories, airlines, growth all get squeezed at the same time. But here's the brutal part. If peace happens, China might lose even more. The moment sanctions are lifted, Iran suddenly has more options. They can sell to Europe, Japan, India, South Korea all at the same time. The discounts vanish overnight. The leverage disappears. The 25-year deal loses its whole power. China spent decades trying to build an influence around Iran's sanctions. But an open Iran doesn't need China. War hurts China, peace also hurts China, and that is the real paradox. So what do you even do with this information? Two sides. Long US energy and LNG exporters. They capture the value in both scenarios and watch Chinese ETFs like FXI. Scenario A spikes their energy costs. Scenario B removes their strategic advantage. This is the signal to watch. If PBOC starts cutting rates off cycle, China is absorbing the stress that isn't in the headlines yet. That is 4 to 6 weeks ahead of the market. Because when they start moving aggressively, you'll know the pressure is already inside the system.
Did China expose all US bases in the Middle East? Yes. A month ago, a Chinese military account with 51 million followers pinned a 3-minute video. Chinese netizens joked that it was an open book exam.
China just released images of U.S. military bases in the Middle East and sent them over to Iran to help them strike the U.S. bases. Now, bold move from China, but again, this is not illegal and this does not violate international laws. And when they were asked about this, they also said the exact same thing. We did not violate any international laws and we're allies, so we just gave it to them. Holy bruh, these pictures are high resolution too. They are not playing. You know, some people are so naive, they underestimate China and think China's weak. If you really think China's weak, then you're living under a rock. Living under a rock is actually an understatement. A Hangzhou Chinese satellite imaging company has released high-resolution satellite imagery showing U.S. military deployment across all the Middle East bases, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, and Indian Ocean's Diego Garcia. This just happened recently on February 27, literally a couple days ago. They were also against the death of Iran's supreme leader, Ali al-Khamenei. They condemned his killing and called it a great violation of Iran's security. China did not help Iran directly strike Israel, but they also helped them with intelligence.
Let's take a look together.
这是美军在中东规模最大、功能最核心的军事基地——卡塔尔乌代德基地。基地距伊朗仅有300公里，能容纳约1万美军。拥有2条约3800米长的机场跑道，能让包括 B-52 战略轰炸机、C-17 运输机在内的美军主力机型正常起降。配有数量众多的加固弹药库和航空油库，在停机坪可见大批加油机、运输机，还有少量直升机。乌代德基地拥有完善的防空设施，其爱国者导弹发射架指向伊朗方向。这是位于巴林的贾法勒海军支援基地，它是美军在中东的海上心脏，也是美国海军第5舰队司令部驻地。该基地距离伊朗海岸仅200余公里，基地内可见美国独立级滨海战斗舰、英国23型护卫舰、巴林佩里级护卫舰等10余艘大小舰艇。 这是美军在中东规模最大的陆军基地，位于科威特首都南部的阿里夫间军营。它离伊朗就更近了，仅有100余公里，最多能容纳13500名军事人员。军营内拥有大量坦克、装甲车等重型装备，停放着上千辆作战及运输车辆，是美军应对所谓伊朗威胁的关键前沿基地。这是位于阿联酋的载夫拉空军基地，是美军在波斯湾南岸的核心空中据点，距霍尔木兹海峡约200公里。该基地拥有2条3700米长的跑道，配备超大型航空油库、大量加固机堡和弹药库，停机坪可建多架 A-10 攻击机和无人机。不远处的防空导弹阵地部署爱国者防空系统，同样，这里的发射架也指向伊朗方向。这是位于沙特阿拉伯的苏丹王子空军基地，它处于沙特首都利雅得东南约80公里的位置，能辐射红海、波斯湾2个方向。该基地拥有2条4000米跑道。可以看到，机场中部停机坪有大量的加油机和运输机，机库外还有一架 F-15 战斗机。基地外，爱国者防空导弹发射架也指向伊朗方向。不仅如此，美国在约旦也有空军基地，这是穆沃费格萨勒提空军基地，它距离耶路撒冷约150公里，距离伊朗边境约900公里，拥有2条3000米长的跑道和完善的战机维护、弹药储存设施。它是美军在中东的关键前沿作战枢纽，在停机坪中可以看到 F-35、F-16 等战斗机，还有 C-17 运输机和无人机。这是美国与土耳其合用的英吉尔利克空军基地，也是北约在中东的重要支点。这里储存的约50枚 B-61 战术核弹，使该基地兼具战略威慑与快速打击能力。这是美军在叙利亚的核心前沿据点软夫基地，它位于叙利亚、伊拉克、约旦3国交界处，扼守 M2 高速公路咽喉，控制伊拉克至叙利亚的陆上交通要道。该基地以特种作战和反恐为核心任务。纵观以上，我们可以看到，美国依靠遍布中东的军事基地体系，深度介入中东地区事务，构筑起强势的区域影响力。
So far, it appears that every base mentioned in the video has been bombed. Of course, that's probably just a coincidence. After all, the locations of those bases are publicly available information. Right?
Watching the news of Iran, I want to show you something ironic I saw at the United Nations, and you will feel it ironic too. So last month I visited the United Nations headquarters in New York, and right outside the building there is that iconic sculpture, the Nautic gun, a symbol of peace. But standing there in New York in the United States, I remember thinking, okay, well, then the second ironic scene appeared when I walked into the main hall. There was a slogan, "Do not forget history." Behind it, an anti-war exhibition. But guess what the exhibition was about? Again, the Holocaust of World War II, repeated thousands of times. And besides that, in that hall, no other wars, no other regions, no other conflicts mentioned at all, as if only one group is allowed to represent peace. So, that's the reality of the world. That's how deeply unbalanced global power and narrative control are. There was a time when working at the UN for all humanity was my dream, but now it just feels like a delusional bubble. So that's why grand ideologies become so tiring for me. What I care more now is our real human conversations. So I just want to say to the world, please do not lose the last bit of humanity. I'm Leia, a Chinese quadrilingual Gen Z sharing cross-cultural insights.
Y'all, I really think we are witnessing the decline of the American empire in real time. I've been thinking that anyway, just because of how poorly things are going domestically. But seeing what's happening with Iran is really driving the point home for me that, yeah, I think the whole world order is shifting. And let's just say the year of the fire horse is off to a fiery start, baby. As an anti-imperialist and geopolitics enjoyer, it has been very honestly satisfying to see how Americans are reacting to this on social media in real time. Like, Americans are realizing that having a giant fucking bloated ass military budget does not mean that your military is actually good at accomplishing shit and that your military is effective. And it's kind of wild that Americans need this reminder because, like, let's be real, we've been getting our fucking shit rocked militarily in all of these stupid wars of aggression that we've started since World War II. World War II is the last war that the US military won. And like, let's be real, the Soviets did all of the fucking heavy lifting on that. And then we just kind of came in at the end and took credit. And then we won in Japan by dropping 2 nukes. Like, that's not, you know, we didn't win via military engagement. Like 3 F-15 fighter jets got taken down in the same day, and y'all want me to believe that that was friendly fire from Kuwait? Girl, please be so serious right now. Like, Iran took down 3 of our fucking fighter jets. And as a China appreciator, watching Americans realize that, like, we really could not do shit against the Chinese military is, like, unbelievably satisfying. People are like, oh my God, like, if Iran is rocking our shit this hard, like, what the fuck would we do against China? And the answer is not shit, dude. Not a goddamn thing. And I hope to God that even Trump is not stupid enough to think otherwise. But, like, here's the thing about China. Nobody needs to fear their military unless you fuck with them. They don't do wars of aggression, okay? That's not in their plan. They're trade maxing. They're economy maxing. They have a very strict plan. They're running a strict fucking program over there in terms of their economic plans, and going to fucking war is going to fuck up their plans. And like, maybe all these other fucking stupid countries, the US, should take notes that when you don't fucking invest in war and instead you invest in your fucking people, you become a fucking economic powerhouse. And by the way, they're a military powerhouse too. But again, that military, that is there to defend themselves. And, you know, they don't say this, but like, it's to defend themselves against the United States, and they can obviously do so very effectively. Some of the discourse I've seen floating around is like, well, what about Taiwan? Like, how would we defend Taiwan against a Chinese war of aggression? Like, girl, we wouldn't. We fucking wouldn't. We fuck with China, we're gonna get our fucking shit pushed in. The end. Period. But again, not something that we need to worry about, because China is not launching any fucking wars of aggression, especially not on their own territory, which is what Taiwan is. They're not going to fucking do that. Like, they're not going to intervene militarily in other countries' conflicts, and they're definitely not going to, again, launch any type of aggressive military actions. But like, you better fucking believe if you poke that fucking dragon, they will fuck your shit up. And I think most of the world knows this, and I hope fucking Trump knows this, and the Chinese definitely know it, you know, and they're not the ones to go around, you know, waving a big stick, as Theodore Roosevelt would say. They don't fucking need to. I think what they've done economically speaks for itself, and it's interesting because, you know, people will say that the U.S. has the biggest military in the world, but that's actually debatable. The U.S. has the biggest military budget in the world. The U.S. has 1.3 million active duty troops, and China has 2 million. The U.S. has the superior air force, air power. China has the bigger navy. And again, the U.S. has the bigger budget, but we probably have a bigger construction budget too, and we see how that's working out. I actually don't know shit about construction budgets. I'm just talking shit. I'm just saying, like, just because the Chinese spend less money doesn't mean that their military is less effective. But again, yeah, this very stupid war launched by the empire, the U.S. Israeli empire, is just proof that it is collapsing, because as we know historically, empires lash out as they die and collapse. And unfortunately, it is going to mean a lot of suffering for the world, and eventually back home here in the U.S. It's going to lead to a lot of suffering. But at this moment, it is sparking joy for me to see the U.S. military showing its whole ass.